we do see that Edie is watching the news back on Coruscant. And then we also see that Cyril, he's examining his little spiders that he's been collecting clearly, and he gets a knock at the door and is informed by an Imperial officer that all personnel are to report to the building, basically the Imperial building at the plaza. They all have to go there and hunker down. And it's just the looks he gives are very just very telling that the mind is going places that are very uncomfortable to him.
The dawning terror of understanding exactly what's like. The picture's getting ever clearer with every passing moment, right?
Yep.
I think
it's becoming clear what's about to happen.
I'd also say, because they've obviously shown many examples of Cyril sort of OCD level correcting and ordering his stuff. Like, this to me feels like, yes, on one hand, it was like a cover story that he would involve Ghorman culture within his apartment that is usually pretty stark, bare sort of thing. But even his home, if you remember his bedroom in season 1, I think you could see he had like clone troopers in the background on a shelf. Like sort of, I think that was to imply somewhat of a aspiration he has, right, for justice, which is, could have been a stormtrooper as well. I can't remember exactly. I just remember he has figures. And so, I think it is supposed to be, despite the fact that it's good for cover, that the Ghormans are checking up on him, and it's like, oh, look, it matches the story he's telling. I think that little shot of him caring for the way the spiders look and thinking about everything, it's just like, they don't want to get too explicit with it, but I think he cares about the Ghorman people.
Yeah. And there's also like the meta-symbolic layer of the web and the spiders in which you're caught in the web and you haven't necessarily realized it, but that realization is coming. I think it's episode 6. There is a shot where there is a panning shot where you see one of the spiders sort of building this very, very intricate web in a jar at the foreground while characters are doing stuff in the background. So it's kind of like,
they were
it's also there to tell you that you're trapped.
Story, yeah.
Also, Edie still got her Cyril spider on the table after, how long has it been? A year?
A year.
Yep.
Yep. He may not have visited for a while. He did say that it was going to become harder to do that.
Yeah.
So we see that the Ghor are flooding the streets of Palmo and making their way to the plaza, intent on retaking it. Rylant is in the plaza, and his daughter Enza approaches, meets him there, and he tells her it's a trap. Rylance desperately pleads with her to put a stop to it, claiming that the Empire is begging them to fight, but she retorts that the people can't remain silent any longer. And to this, Rylance exclaims, "We'll be silent when we're dead," before running off, muttering that he can and must put a stop to this. He is growing very desperate.
I really do love the conflict of those two perspectives, right? It's like, we have to do something, and it's like, die? What would be the point?
Yeah, doing something means dying. It's what they want. They're counting on you.
Your choices are do nothing, quote unquote, or do the something that they want you to do that is going to kill all of you. Take your pick.
So, pretty horrible situation that he finds himself in. But he's run off to go find the crowd, and we see that Wilman, Drina have joined it. Lazine also joins the protest. And the citizens begin chanting, "We are the Ghor, the galaxy is watching." Which I will say, that as a chant gets me a little bit depressed because of the fact that the galaxy is like watching, but not like doing in the way that they need to.
It's very unsympathetic.
They may well be seeing what's happening, but they're certainly not understanding what's happening, and they're not really going to do anything about it. So they're all there hopeful with this attitude that people are paying attention and will care. And the conclusion is not that at all.
There's a lot to say about the consequences of Ghorman. It's nowhere near enough what people would want in terms of like a reaction from the galaxy. I mean, to an extent, right? It's even Alderaan getting exploded does not rally the entire galaxy to take on the Empire. It's complicated, it's confusing, it's scary. It's and they go through all of this in the show, I think, excellently, honestly. Especially with the Ghorman senator in the next episode. What happens to him? It's just really good shit. It's because you're right. Yeah, the galaxy is watching. True, doesn't quite mean what you'd hope it would mean.
Well, it's
they're watching a whole bunch of inexplicable resistance to imperial norms.
Mm-hmm. It feels like it's the distinction between hearing something and actually listening to it. There's a difference between like the sounds meeting your ears and actually understanding like what you're being told.
Yeah.
And it feels like that's the case here, that essentially the Ghormans have got it wrong. They are not being watched in the way that they hope that they're being watched. And we see that Rylance is in the crowd pleading with them to stop, but they're ignoring him. And he spots Cyril amongst the people, and this enrages him, and he goes and confronts him, and Cyril grabs Rylance, pins him to the wall, as Rylance derisively chuckles, "How could we be so foolish?" And Cyril insists that he meant them no harm, which prompts Rylance to say, "How do you say that? How do you speak the words? You've destroyed us." Which, it's just, you know, he's essentially saying what Enzo was thinking.
How can he not recognize the reality, especially now?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, you can never truly know. It's like, are you still fucking with me? You know, like, is this your job to do this, or are you like, are you serious right now? Like,
what are you doing? You know, like, and then Cyril says that he was only on Ghorman to trap outside agitators, and Rylance responds, "Look at you, even now, people know what you're doing. We've had reports all night. There's mining equipment being dropped all over the planet." And Cyril yells, "That's a rumor." His world is collapsing in real time here.
It's a rumor. That's a rumor. That's the company line.
Yeah, but he's having to force it out because like it's not. It's like he knows that that's like not.
Well, yeah, he has no
you know what I mean? Like,
real substance or context for that statement. It's all he's got. That's directly from the Empire. That's what you say when people say that.
Rylance says to that, "Are you mad that I believe that? That it's worth saying? What kind of a being are you?" Which is essentially it's just the perfect response. Basically, it's like, what? Why the fuck would you say that? Like, what? You know, like you don't. And of course, questioning it's like, are you mad? Because in a sense, it's like, well, yes, Cyril hasn't really. He still basically isn't there yet. He hasn't made it there yet. He's well on his way to realizing the reality of the situation, but he's still in denial.
He knows the least out of anyone on the planet about what's going on because he believed what he was told. Even Rylance knows now that they've come to extract something from the center of the planet. Rylance, who's sort of in his own stage of denial by trying to encourage people to do peaceful protests, which won't work anyway. But even he knows more about what's really happening. So like him throwing that back at Cyril realizing that he hasn't got a clue. He's been here doing something and it was not what he thought he was doing and he has no clue what's going on anymore. That's kind of like, obviously then that prompts him to go and interrogate Dedra afterwards. But it's just, it's powerful from both involved. I mean, I really, really like Rylance. I think I've liked him in every single scene he's been in.
Great.
But like this particularly tragic moment of the guy who's like events have overtaken him as well. Like he is trying to appeal to a strategy which is too far gone, and he kind of realizes it, which is why he's so angry at Cyril. But that absolute tragedy of like a fundamentally good man whose caution, if it had been like believed earlier, might have led to a better outcome. And now he knows that it won't be.
There's this line of questioning, right? Of why would they lie? Why would these reports be saying there's mining equipment, droids, and all kinds of shit being dropped all over the planet? Because Cyril is just like, that's insane rumor nonsense. And it's like, could it be that it's just an attempt to make the Empire seem more crazy than they actually are? You're making all this up. That's nonsense. And then he says, you know, what's in our ground? What have you been sent to steal? And Cyril is still in the position of just, that's insane. And so it's like, if you were to receive, let's say, a key piece of information that answers that question perfectly, that might just be enough to complete the picture.
Well, he's in I'd say he's in a bit of a daze at this point. He's really when Rylance says all of this to him, Cyril's like kind of got almost like a blank stare. It's like he has no response. Basically, he doesn't know what to say.
What we're seeing is how it works for anybody to have a major worldview change, because it's just like, it can't be true, because then all of these things that I believe to be true can't be true.
The aspect of his psychology, like they need the time to actually readjust. We don't just like when new information is introduced, we don't just like rip out chunks of our conscience and then like replace them with new fresh ones.
People aren't perfectly rational, like in terms of their ability to sort of pass through information. Like Cyril can't just be like, oh yeah, okay, I guess that is true, because it's all tied up in his emotions as well.
Yeah,
like this
both
is
mentally and emotionally, he needs to spend a lot of time like processing the horror of what he's come to understand, essentially.
Yeah, and I mean, his way of doing that essentially is he needs to get out of this conversation. He tosses Rylance to the ground, joins the crowd again, and is heading back to the plaza. And it's that's the conclusion of that conversation between those two, which is a really important one in terms of essentially in determining the conclusion of Cyril's story.
I feel like the final remark from Rylance, what kind of a being are you? As the way he chooses to phrase that, that cuts right to Cyril's core as a character, as I'm sure we can come back to when.
Cyril wants to believe that he's a person who is out there to do good and to ensure justice, but he has been a key player in facilitating a grave injustice that's about to happen. And so we see that Dedra asks Cato if he's pleased with the situation, and he just says that he wants a comfortable ride home before reiterating that he is the trigger and Dedra is the finger. She is the one who will make the call. She is the one who will initiate what will happen on Ghorman. And Andor heads into the hotel lobby and checks out, and the bellhop tells Andor that it will appear as though he was never there. And before leaving, Andor says to him, I hope things work out for you. And the bellhop replies, rebellions are built on hope.
Oh, which apparently
I remember.
Tony Gilroy said that one day when he was just tooling away on scripts or whatever, that his son was asking him, because he's obsessed with Star Wars, how is he gonna provide the origin for that line? And apparently he was like, what? He's like, the origin for the rebellions are built on hope line. He's like, doesn't it have an origin? He's like, no. He was like, what? Oh. And I guess in a sense, it still doesn't have an origin in that you could always push it to the next person sort of thing, but I really like that they've done that.
I would rather it be here than some other
schmuck loser.
Like Ahsoka in the World Between Worlds, where she yells it into the echoing portals, so it gets the whole world.
Ahsoka came up with it. She was the one who came up with that line.
I don't want her to have anything.
She already has everything, right?
She already has. Exactly.
Ugh.
So Andor enters the plaza, which is very rapidly filling with people, and Cyril passes just by Andor. They become very close to each other, but they don't notice each other as he heads towards the Imperial building. And inside, Cato tells a subordinate to, quote-unquote, get the South Steps unit on the line. That's an important one. That you'll be seeing who that is later. And Andor starts scoping out the perimeter of the plaza, where several Imperial soldiers are positioned as though ready to seal it. Like he goes up the staircase and then he sees that they're all just sort of standing there around the plaza. Enza links up with the rebels, asks them if they've seen Rylance, but they haven't. And Andor finds a position behind a stone pillar and tries to contact Willman over the radio, but the connection is very spotty.
So,
and he then
just more connections to Sicario for whatever reason, but the soundtrack was totally evoking that for me. It's like this unsettling. Like everyone who's seen any reviews of this episode, the tension just gets thicker and thicker and thicker, and you start to like wonder what the fuck is going on. And every once in a while, you get a like. Just like in the soundtrack was just unhappiness, and
there was a term that they created for that, right? That they
doom bends.
What was it?
What?
Could you say that again?
Doom bends. It's a comment on the instruments being used, but that's what Tony Gilroy called them. They come in every once in a while, and it's just basically the coming of doom, essentially, in the soundtrack, which I think was pretty well nailed, and I do very much enjoy it. Just everything's working very hard at this point to generate so much fucking tension. All of the pieces are in place. We know how everything can run out, but the thing they're benefiting from, I'd say right now, are when you're this sort of when you get very, very invested, it's still not quite like you sort of say to yourself like they wouldn't. It's not going to be like not going to be the worst thing I'm imagining, right? Like, it wouldn't be that. Like, how is this going to roll out exactly? Everyone's still pretty chill. It's all okay. It's just like the music and all the characters and all the tensions. Like, it's pointing to something much, much worse. I'm not sure exactly how it's going to go down, though.
Well, and it's something that's sort of being highlighted in this sequence as well, as the seeing the stormtroopers around is ominous, which that hasn't been the case for the stormtroopers in forever. Basically,
they show up as like, oh, they're
1980,
cannon fodder.
I think, right?
They're losers, so just something to shoot.
Yeah, making a wall of stormtroopers and you keep cutting to them standing and waiting is very, very fucking creepy in terms of just like what's all that about. I even really like this shot where you got the journalist and unfocused in the background just saying a bunch of bullshit, and then it's framed with the stormtrooper just in profile, just standing here, like
the clear physical reality of what's going on here.
It's so good. There's so much great cinematography.
Everything about the staging is right. Like the stormtroopers are elevated, they're in the ring, then there's more forces on the top of the ring. The frequent flyovers by TIE fighters, which again you don't see very often in this show, but they are there quite clearly to try and stir up the crowd with these flybys because the noise is terrifying. They're creating. I think the British police use this thing called kettling when they want to like keep protesters from running away. It has been criticized frequently for actually creating more violence than it solves, because people, when they are penned in like this, react more violently than otherwise would have done. And what they're doing is that they are kettling all of these people together. And the interesting thing as well is that all around the Ghormanites is like intent and motive, which the audience is aware of. And the only people who are unaware of anything that's really properly going on are these poor people who are trapped in the middle. But you've got sort of Andor and the rebels are kind of on the ring going around trying to enact their own plan. The Imperials are on the outside looking in and above as well, always with intent. And then how the protesters will react as well, because everything is slightly unpredictable. Like, how will the Empire react to the protesters if the protesters don't react the way they think they will do? Will the protesters be violent and invite the reprisal, or will they not? Like, how will any of this work? So there's that interesting balance of like audience inferior and superior that's going on, which is just, again, all aiding the tension.
And it's showing sort of where all of the characters are and what they're doing and sort of what they're up to, because we see that Andor is obviously very focused on Dedra, who he sees on the balcony. Meanwhile, Cyril is about to head into that building, and we see that like a lot of the rebels are already there, and Willman's there as well. And as Cyril reaches the entrance of the building, and the TIE fighter passes overhead and startles some of the protesters, he gets stopped by a guard, but they let him inside, and he watches an Imperial journalist relaying what he knows at this point to just be bullshit, like blatant propaganda, and his expression sinks.
He's hearing like the fact that it goes all that way, all of this insane, like I keep saying, company line, meaning that there's a narrative to be run, even if it's just in absolute blatant lies at this point, and it's becoming too much for him to bear. The actor's doing a very, very good job of expressing that.
This is being run right from the top. If that's the case, so many different like people and divisions and bureaus need to be involved in this at this point.
Yep. This is a whole institution working to facilitate this outcome, and Cyril is something of an institution. He likes institutions. He believes in institutions. He thinks that they're good, and this is him realizing that it's all been leveraged to essentially bring about this outcome. Because when he gets brought inside, Grimish denies him access to the upper floor and escorts him into a safe room, harbors a handful of employees, and 6 KX droids. One of them is looking at him.
I will say this is a particularly creepy ass visual.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You gotta show it.
Having the one fucking robot just staring at him there in that room.
Staring at him. Yeah.
That's actually like, oh shit, that's scary.
Especially with all of these things being hidden in reserve, essentially.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
so
why are they here?
I saw this compared, and I guess I know Theo, but maybe Platoon. I'm not sure. But anyway, this moment for Cyril being compared to Catelyn Stark, noting that Roose Bolton's wearing armor in the wedding. It's like this. It's something that it's like 1% chance you could explain it without it being horrifying, but you know better.
All possible, like even unreasonable doubt is gone at this point.
like, what the fuck is this? Why are they here? And it should be pretty easy to put together.
Why are they A, here, and B, if they're here, why are they not out there?
Yeah. Why are they hiding them?
Oh man, yeah, it's your brain just runs wild. You know exactly what's going on.
Why
fucking
are there stormtroopers all around the sides while we have normal troopers around the front? Why are there why, with all of that being the case, do we have droids held in reserve as if this is like a battle plan? We have reserve units that we are going to roll out later on into things. You can't draw any positive implication from it.
No.
It's like every visual, there's one layer of plausible deniability that just goes away. You could you could excuse if it was just one instance of maybe stormtroopers are there. You can say, well, obviously that's a contingency plan if the worst comes to the worst. But the more he sees, the worse it gets, because, like you say, every part of the institution that he adores is here. This is quite clearly deliberate. Nothing is as it should be, and the way that it does combine not only all of these visuals to tell you that the entire empire is involved here, but the way it then personifies his faith in that institution with the betrayal of the one woman who kind of represents the institution in human form to him is, again, genius. Everything he believes, personal, private, political, everything is gone at this point. He's now just sort of in the process of realizing it.
And yeah, this one keeping the look on him for that extended period of time. I wonder if it's just supposed to be that this is the one droid that's noticed his current state of being, his emotional state, right? It's just a little bit like, what's this guy doing?
It's got to be
K2SO. Threat analysis.
I don't care if it's K2SO.
I think
I don't even like discussing K2SO's portion of this episode. It has nothing meaningful to do with what's happening in this episode.
I think it's C-3PO.
It's way too because this may be a little bit more pet peevey, but when they launch, right, so to speak, it's incredibly harrowing would be the word, horrifying, and so many people were like, "Is that K2SO? Oh my god, I think that's K2SO." And it's
it's like, what are you? What are you doing?
People are dying.
It's more so that is there something to be said about the fact that one of them is notably more curious than the rest of them. The fact that it's looking at him, like all the other ones don't.
I suppose there's a couple of interpretations. Even Richter just said it might be that he was particularly programmed to protect Cyril. It's there's all different things you could imagine headcanon for this. I think there's plenty of explanations that work. The one that I just assumed was that this droid noticed before the rest of them that Cyril seems a bit off.
A bit off, yeah. A bit sus.
What's he doing? Keep an eye on him.
Outside, the Gora are continuing to chant, but the members of the Ghorman front are starting to maneuver through, take up positions, grab their gear. And Andor is closely examining the Imperial building. Kaido steps out and orders his subordinates to seal the exits. And so we see stormtroopers emerge from one of the plaza entrances and start herding the protesters down the steps and into the plaza. And they stay there. So there's just a group of stormtroopers prominently cutting off one of the main exits out of the plaza.
It's disgusting, in terms of just how much they obviously planned all of this, but simultaneously compartmentalized the information. It's just this is what I mean about you needed the Empire to be this way. You having them be clowns is stupid. It's never going to work.
Yeah, it doesn't really serve your story, especially if the whole point is that this needs to be destroyed, that this is an evil institution that has to go. If you make them clowns that can't even shoot a static object on the ground. Thanks, Taika.
Or even if you make them too obviously,
never let anyone forget they defended it at the time. We were like, no, they defended it at the time.
I did.
There's the additional layer to it as well, though, which is that not only are they not clowns, but also the show is taking care to establish how they are playing this in terms of image, so that there's an air of intelligence. It's not just that they're not stupid, it's that they're quite intelligent. They're not going to go out and be so very evil that the rest of the galaxy will look at what they're doing here and say, well, they're evil, I can't possibly support this, so I'm going to go join the rebellion. The whole point of them provoking this response from the Ghormans, from the Gors, is that Like, they want this to be seen as justified retaliation for an attack on the Imperial rule. That's the whole point of it. So, like, they are clever as well as not being stupid, which an extra layer which, like, another show might not have gone in for, because it's enough to portray, like, evil people as just evil and moderately intelligent, but this one thinks that's not enough, and rightly so.
Because obviously getting dealt the set of cards that says you have to destroy Ghorman isn't like the nicest thing, even for like an authoritarian like nightmare empire like the Empire. But this is showing they are going to get the best version of that. Like, they're going to play that as well as they possibly can. If they have to essentially genocide a planet, they're going to do so in a way that looks the least bad for them. If they don't do things like this, that's how you provoke entire like the entirety of the base that forms your empire into open rebellion.
And the haunting like effort being that this is all to create a weapon that will prevent anyone from standing up against the Empire in future.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So we see that Kaido orders Bloy to lead his men into the plaza and conduct a patrol within the crowd. Naturally, Bloy pleads that his men are too green to handle such a task, but Kaido reiterates the order, threatening to send him and his men to an Imperial brig if they refuse to comply. And so, with visible trepidation, Bloy turns to face his men and orders them to get ready, basically.
The layers of the plan are just great to see play. Not great because obviously it's evil, but they are great to see play out in the sense that the first stage of the plan is because they are so inexperienced. The odds are that when the Gors turn on them a little bit, they will overreact and they will start like reprisals. And then, of course, it's just the best way to get the Gors to obviously attack them is send people who can't really defend themselves or respond properly. It creates chaos when you have young, inexperienced people being attacked by a crowd. But then they have the backup plan in case that doesn't work, and a backup plan for the backup plan. It's just like, everything about this is so meticulously crafted by a guy who is so like psychopathically almost disinterested in what he's doing, and yet so very, very good at it.
Also, Kaido is once again, that's who Thrawn should be like. That's yes. What we should be seeing. This cold, calculated, and extremely 10 steps ahead of everything, and always very emotionless when he delivers a lot of this stuff, except when things need to happen in his own men. Because I was going to say with it is Bloy, right? I'm starting to get confused myself.
Yeah, Bloy.
The what happens, we gotta commit to one.
You're right. The fact that Bloy. He, upon entry highlights issues, and then again highlighting them here for the safety and health of not only his own men, but also like the nature of this situation. Nothing but rational and fair takes, but like none of it's relevant. You're here to do a job, and you don't even know what it is.
And in this case, the job is to potentially be sacrificed in order to facilitate the outcome that the Empire needs.
And it's so
the banality
cruel.
of evil aspect as well, in the sense that he quite clearly does sort of care for his men, in the sense that this is why he's bringing these complaints up as subtly as he can. But he is, at the end of the day, he's just following orders, as so many people do. He's not necessarily even a bad man for just following orders, even if the orders are bad. But like he has a degree of care which is conveyed in this scene. And yet he will still have to do it because that's his job. He's a good soldier. He's a good professional general.
And he has, frankly, no idea what he's being used for, which is like there's some really good imagery at play in this episode in terms of how the Empire is operating in that regard, with like the element that will be introduced later that like sparks off the entire event.
Something else.
Like that element embodies what the Empire is doing here. These people, like on the ground, are like they have no conception of what they're a part of necessarily.
I love how much, and we've talked about it before, but it's always worth mentioning again and again, how consistent the uniforms are with the design of like the original Star Wars. How much Andor wants to respect it. The little belt buckles all of the ISB have. It's like a silver rectangle with, edges that are smoothed out with a little dot in the middle. It's so very old sci-fi. But the thing is, like, when it's being worn by all of these actors who are so well written and taking the job so seriously, it all becomes an immersive element of the world. Like, even, their hats. Some of them look like they could pass for regular and normal, but some of them are just like, oh yeah, that's exactly how they did look in the oldest movie and what began all of this story. And it's just like really, I like remembering stuff like that. It's the same argument that I think we would all make for the aliens, that a lot of people might be like, it's a bit goofy, and it's like, it really won't be. Trust me.
It
You
won't
go
be.
right in like this, it won't be.
And
especially when you're putting the time and effort to put to get the details right, because a lot of these costumes, they're quite layered and textured. That they are distinctly old-fashioned, but there's a lot of detail and care that's gone into their creation. That they're telling you more than like a cheap pastiche of an old outfit would do. And I think there's in contradistinction you get is it it's the rebel captain at the beginning of Ahsoka who's commanding the starship that gets attacked by Balin's skull.
Yeah,
his outfit is just like that completely plain white, sort of rebel-looking helmet, completely plain blue, very cheap-looking tunic, and then for a medal, they've put like a square of tinfoil and Jude Skittles to it as a medal kind of thing. And it looks so cheap. And what they're clearly doing is trying to go back and make it look vaguely like what the old costumes did, but they didn't put the care and attention into the old costumes that once put in to create them, whereas this show absolutely has done that.
Yeah, they do. They spared no expense.
No, they didn't. I mean,
also,
the whole project cost like $700 million. So
I did see it, and I suppose someone pointed out in chat as well. The that shot where the rookie lifts his visor and it just comes back down anyway as he's getting up. That's such a great little detail. These guys are not ready for what's going to happen.
Nope. So outside, members of the Ghorman Front start distributing the Molotov cocktails amongst themselves, and you know, it feels like the tension's been ramping up for the last several minutes at this point, and we see Lazine, who was not chanting, he was quietly standing amongst them, while they're doing the chant, and Lazine removes his hat, and after taking a moment, he begins to sing, and I believe this is the basically the Ghorman national anthem. Which I suppose it would be worthwhile to read the whole thing.
Well, yeah, and they very deliberately edit this so that we cut between him, guy giving out Molotovs, him, guy giving out Molotovs, and then deciding to commit to the anthem. Seems to me, I don't know if this was something they planned earlier, but it seems like it's a signal from him for everyone, like, don't throw Molotovs, don't shoot, don't aggravate.
Don't give them any excuse, any reason to attack.
This seems super deliberate. They all seem to calm the fuck down with this anthem being sung.
This is very much calls back to what he was saying before, which is, you know, like, we are the Ghor, and if they take that from us, then, you know, what are we fighting for? That he is very proud, and that he's going to essentially do what is necessary to, you know, essentially control the situation. And this works. Everybody gradually starts to join in. It all calms down. And I believe Tony Gilroy wrote the Ghor national anthem, which is, raise your eyes to homeland skies, we are the Ghor. Breathe the air and know you're there, we are the Ghor. Valley, highland, let me spend my everyday there. Call your kin to come and sing, we are the Ghor. Voices loud and standing proud, we are the Ghor. Valley, highland, let me spend my everyday there. Tight we weave and roll the sleeve, we are the Ghor. From Navashare to Palmer Square, we are the Ghor. Obviously, not in English. It rhymes in English. I don't know if but it, you know, it's I like it.
Yes,
it's really cool that they created this and put it in the show. Because again, this is what I mean in terms of fleshing out the world. It's like, now we're at the point where we know the Ghorman national anthem. That's like part of developing this world and getting you attached to it and its people.
They developed all the hallmarks they require for what it would realistically feel to watch a culture get oppressed and destroyed. They created all of the elements they need to make it viable.
It's something they do on Ferrix as well in season 1, and, you know, establishing all the many aspects of that culture there, which all sort of come together in the big sort of battle scene at the end of that show. But like, from is it the Daughters of Ferrix is like the sort of almost like the Women's Institute organization, and making that the locus of it. But it's so clearly tied to the history of the place. This rebellious movement hasn't arisen from absolutely nothing. It's all an extension of the character of the place in which they live. People dying and being put into bricks, and then the bricks being put into the walls that help build the rest of the town. It's like all of that stuff is just so wonderfully valuable for making these places feel lived in, and so that you understand exactly what's at stake, as opposed to just saying, and then they fight in any random place with no connection to their past.
You see it in Aldani as well, where through the conversation between the Imperial officers about like the Danis and their heritage, that the pilgrimage to go see the eye from this specific site was a big part of their history, but that the Empire, having been there for so long, has essentially reduced the numbers, like gradually, slowly but surely. They've been reducing it to the point that eventually they won't be allowed to go there at all. And that they essentially will, participate to some extent in the customs to keep them in line, but ultimately they're out there to destroy it. But that you still see that there are a few of them who are proud and, essentially in their own way are trying to defy the Empire just by doing it, just by going there and still doing the pilgrimage. It's really cool to see all of these different societies and how it manifests in the way that their it's got to be a point, right, that their rebellion on Ferrix was essentially having the big funeral for Maarva against the Empire's wishes, getting the marching band. Everybody's almost ready for it, like they all knew it was going to happen, and then marching out there and doing it in a very big and public way. The Dani still continuing to go on their pilgrimage, and then here singing the national anthem after having retaken the plaza that was locked off to them for some amount of time at this point. It's really great.
Yeah, it's like a galactic cultural unification of opposing the Empire.
Yeah, it's really good, and the singing's great. It's a really great moment. And then we have this scene. So Cyril storms into Dedra's office and asks her, "What have you done?" Dedra orders Grimish to leave and has the door closed before telling Cyril that she's following orders. Cyril then calmly asks Dedra how long she knew about this arrangement before screaming how long. He is fucking furious, which is noteworthy because Cyril doesn't tend to essentially lose his shit.
No, not this energy level. He's typically
tries to keep a lid on it.
Well, this is just purely exciting for someone when you go through all of that build up to get to a place where Cyril is losing it. It's like, oh shit, how's this scene gonna go? And to open with a yell that we have. The actress has already nailed it, as far as I'm concerned. Apparently, a lot of people didn't think she was very good. I don't understand where this comes from.
Really? You don't think so? That's
I've always thought she was.
They don't think so. That's
very good, but then I'd say this scene should probably solidify it, right? The fact that she basically plays a version of her character here that we've never seen before. She's like terrified of Cyril. Also, hi Ryan.
There's like the poetic element to it in the sense that because this does sort of rhyme with the Ferric scene in season 1, and where in that scene, like she is distraught and she is traumatized by almost being killed, and Cyril's the one who turns up and provides her essentially comfort and stability. Here, a very similar setup is playing out. She begins completely calm and collected, and he's the one who comes to make her distraught and almost traumatized because things start falling apart. So it's like a nice like anti-rhyme to it.
I just like that she has her usual strong veneer with his initial questions, but once he shouts at her, she like starts to break apart pretty quickly. Not to mention
she's not ready for it.
Yes. Welcome. We're 3 hours in, and notably, we are 1.5 episodes in. That is how we do things.
That sounds about right. I figured, look, I had to really hustle because I obviously have some stuff going on Saturdays, but I had to be here for violence against women, So that
thank goodness you made it.
I heard a bitch being choked, and I came as fast as I can.
Exactly, both ways. But yeah, this is
right.
Have you seen shocking scene?
Have you seen the posts that are like, so Disney don't like calling a ship Slave 1, but they do like beating women? It's like, wait, what?
We've all got our lines, okay?
It's such a strange connection, though.
It is like. I do like there is an irony that a company that just a couple years ago decided that the name Slave 1 for a ship was just so crazy. Yet they've got stuff in this. But my question would be to the same people, because a lot of people are using that as an argument for why the attempted sexual assault scene shouldn't have happened. I'm like, yeah, but we all thought that was retarded when they thought Slave 1 was inappropriate because of all these examples in the galaxy where horrific things happen. Yet now you don't want to see that horrific thing happen.
Yeah, I mean, we should just be. I was surprised they were able to get cleanly showing this, because it felt super authentic to the characters. You just, it's nice to see it. But Andor always felt a bit more free than the other sludge.
It was a shocking scene, like, for Cyril to do this. Cyril's just like taking out his decades of trauma from his mother on Dedra in that very moment, you know. But I was shocked by it, but in a good way.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Dedra shudders when he yells at her. She says they can discuss it later. Cyril grabs her, violently pulls her towards him before saying it's too late already. And he demands that Dedra explain herself, and she weakly tells Cyril that he's hurting her, and Cyril ignores this and presses her for an explanation on the presence of mining ships and an and an armada on Ghorman. But I mean, before she can even reply, Cyril wraps his hands around her neck and whispers, "You tell me it's a rumor, and I'll throw you out that window."
Bit violent for him, isn't it?
Yeah, it's intense.
Cyril.
Well, so
I mean, he's losing his shit.
Well, and what makes him pull away and his whole world begins to shatter is the information, that key piece of what would the Empire's motivation be to drop a bunch of drilling and droid equipment all over the planet. That's like a piece that just doesn't make sense. What's going on? And it's as simple, because it's interesting, right? You compare Rylance's words to Dedra's. He's like, they want something from our ground. Like, what are you here to steal? And the answer is as simple from Dedra. They want a stone from here. It's something.
Yeah, they want a stone.
Something in the dirt.
Yeah, they need the planet.
It's like the worst answer you could possibly get, because there's nothing substantive or meaningful about it that would mean you could destroy an entire planet. Not to him.
No, of course not.
This has nothing to do with the preservation of order.
No.
Do you think in retrospect, I guess, like, kind of, you know, knowing what we know now with the finale, do you think that this event and everything that plays out is what leads Dedra to look into all of these things that she really shouldn't have been looking into? Like, what was all of this for? What did I lose Cyril for? Like, all of that stuff.
I think it could have made him more unhinged and hell-bent on completing her Axis job, for sure. I think that would have to play into it.
After hearing this, Cyril releases his grip, takes a few steps back, and asks her how long she knew about this. And Dedra says that she and Cyril will be going home as heroes, before adding that the Empire's been planning for years, and are thus moving forward with their plan no matter what. That basically there was nothing that they would be able to do to stop it. And Cyril stares at Dedra, unable to speak, which prompts Dedra to snarl, "You didn't seem to mind the promotions." And she very briefly smirks, but the expression drops very quickly.
This is one of my favorite moments from her, acting-wise. But before I get to that, I just wanted to say as well, I love the writing here. She lists off, we're going home, right? Like, there you go. That's reason enough to do this. We're going to be heroes. Another reason. Wait, look, they're doing this no matter what. Hey, we can be together.
Whether...
Hey, you didn't seem to mind the promote. Like, she ran through everything she could think of, as though she may actually have planned this. Like, she's thought about this already, how she would argue this if she needed to, and just doling out all of these excuses and watching them mean absolutely fucking nothing to him. In terms of, like, it's not working, Dedra, and at this point she's just trying to convince herself, I think, because his sort of shame of her is not easy for her to take on, I think, especially when she says you didn't mind the promotions. The way she sort of guns with, like, the aggression and then back into just, oh, Jesus Christ, this is fucked.
Yep, she, it's like, yeah, that was the worst thing she could have said. That's it. It's over.
He's used to being able to control Cyril. That was a very notable aspect of, like, she probably had that intention in the way she formed the relationship. But now, yeah, it's like...
And she even tried to control his mother to control him.
Yeah, like, replace... I think a large part of what's going on there is, yeah, like, push the mother out, take control of his relationship with the mother to sort of leverage that trauma against him, in a way, to, like, further, like, wedge herself into his life in a way that means she can't be easily dislodged.
And well, and you know, this could go back obviously to Ghorman, but even further, everything that happened since he saved her could be contextualized now as she's saying to him, you didn't seem to mind all that elevation you had, all that benefit you have, when we know that he always saw it as it was his work that got him those promotions, his exceptional, achievements. So to do that, I think is like the final barb of just, you're gonna take that away from me now. Like, on top of everything that he's already lost, it's like, it wasn't even your work that got you here. It was like, she's trying to imply it's like you enjoy the benefits of us having to do all these things that are just obviously not nice for the Empire. Again, just not a good idea, and it just goes to show that she's very much underestimated what she's dealing with here.
She fundamentally doesn't understand it, because what we learn about Cyril essentially is that like all he ever really wanted was to be able to excel at something and to have that have his ability acknowledged in that regard. Like, that's even there in the first arc of this season, in his first scene, right, where he's going on that kind of unhinged tirade, where like the entire point there is that Cyril is drawing, even if he's not going after Axis anymore or whatever, he is like drawing satisfaction out of being able to be good at what he does, even if it's not something particularly meaningful or impactful. It is something that he can create value from by excelling.
Yeah, Cyril is happy just being a cog in a giant machine, as long as people understand that like what he's doing is of some value. Like, that's it. He doesn't need everything necessarily. He certainly likes it. He would like to be acknowledged. He would like that to happen. But yeah, he's fine with being a part of it.
Yeah, and I think that might have been part of the mistake, right? When he said it's the greatest day of his life, Dedra might have gotten the impression that it is about somewhat the glory, which is absolutely what she enjoys about a lot of this. But that would only ever be secondary to his like primary interest, which is upholding the law for the sake of order and justice and protecting the innocent, is like actually a big part of what he believes in, which a lot of people didn't even get. But it was like, watch his first scene in season 1. The first thing he's like upset about.
There are murders. We have to solve them. Justice must be done.
Two colleagues have been killed, and everybody is complacent about the idea that justice ought to be, done. It's the way that I like to think about it is that essentially Dedra could only thrive in the Empire, something that could enable her to be a piece of shit, whereas Cyril absolutely could have done a lot of good if he was born in the era of the Republic. Like, the Empire is kind of a thing. Well, as we've seen here, it ain't gonna last, right? Like, once the horror of the Empire is revealed to him, it's untenable. He doesn't want to be a part of it. He can't be a part of it.
But by that point, it's already used him up and spit him back out. It's got everything it needed from him, which is like a larger part of what we do with basically all of our Imperial characters throughout this show, is the institution being what it is, fundamentally untenable. It's going to use you up for all of the good that it can do for itself, and then it's going to abandon you, because it doesn't care about you in any sense, or your ideological perspective on it.
That immense amount of disgust you'd have to feel knowing that you were necessary to get all of this done, and you did it willfully without realizing it for a long time too. All of his work, it sure was useful.
And like a non-trivial amount of that time would have had to have been like somewhat willful ignorance. Like ignoring the signs that are pointing in a different direction to where he thinks this is going, or what he's doing here.
Yeah, he is certainly at fault. It's not don't get it confused. Like, he fucked up, basically. Like, as much as there is the desire to essentially do the right thing, the desire to move up and excel and be recognized was sufficient enough that it was able to prevent him from essentially recognizing the truth way sooner, and maybe being in a position to do something about it. But now he realizes, and obviously the relationship is dead. Cyril steps away from Dedra and very quietly says good luck before leaving. Great scene.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was top fucking tier, and the kind of thing that we were hoping to get for someone's character journey, This kind of peak.
So, in the plaza, the Ghor is still singing, but Bloy has got his men, armed with batons and riot shields, entering the plaza. Cyril storms out of the building, leaps over the barricade, and stumbles into the crowd. And Dedra, orders Grimace to find Cyril and stop him from leaving, but he tells her that Partagaz is on the line before leaving to go find out what's happening with Cyril. And Dedra is visibly sort of on edge about all of it, including that Partagaz is calling.
It's like a moment of choice, right? Like she dithers. She's almost torn between these two things that she values, and then she makes the decision in the end. And on the phone to Partagaz, she gets.
Yep.
Her fucking sort of like her way of portraying her emotional state once that call is over is so good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So we see that Andor reestablishes contact with Willman, who's been looking for him. He tells him his location, though it doesn't appear that Willman could hear it. Employs men sort of lock up and try to basically like freeze up in the area that they're in, and some of the protesters start throwing objects at them. And then we see, the reaction, which I imagine you might want to show, of Dedra. We don't see the conversation she had with Partagaz.
We don't need it.
She takes off a headset, and she's staring ahead. Just a blank stare ahead, and Kaido asks for orders, and Dedra says, proceed. So she's made her choice.
I get the impression she's borderline like going to be sick. The idea is that...
Oh, yeah.
You give the order that will very possibly kill Cyril right now, because you don't know where he's gone, and you wanted to find him to protect him. And then, of course, the broader point of the mission as well, which is absolute fucking insanity after everything Cyril just said to you. Yeah, it just is it's giving her the old stomach churn, which is interesting considering how much of an evil bitch she is.
Oh yeah, she's a piece of shit. So Kaido radios an Imperial sniper that is stationed on a rooftop overlooking the plaza, and he orders the sniper to fire at will. And so the sniper scans the crowd and then aims at one of the soldiers. And just as Bloy gives the order to withdraw from the plaza, the Imperial sniper shoots one of Bloy's men. He draws his blaster and screams, "Open fire!"
There is because it's all conducted as well. Because in the immediately preceding seconds, basically, the soldiers in the plaza have been ordered to halt, so they're now stuck there, and that sort of immediately starts swaying the crowd away from the song and back toward anger again. Then you get, I think, there's another TIE flyover, which gets them even more sort of on edge, and then the order to shoot is given. So it's not just, well, now is the time, so shoot, because obviously if you'd taken the shot while everyone was peacefully singing, it might be unbelievable. They've conducted the entire thing quite minutely in order to make this seem as though it's completely believable that it came from one of the Gors as opposed to their own man.
One, and that as a choice, that the sniper takes out one of the Imperial soldiers to provoke the rest of them to fire into the crowd, to then initiate.
Bloy would never entertain that was an Empire shot that just took out one of his men.
No, of course not.
There's no way.
Absolutely not.
It's part of the reason why it's so evil, really. It's like, take out...
It's when he gets his gun, he immediately turns, he shoots, because he's a soldier and he's professional, he knows the shot must have come from on high, but there's only one person he can believe would have taken the shot from high up, and that's the guy on the monument holding the flag, so he shoots him first. So even tiny little moment shows that he's competent still, but he's completely misled about what's really going on.
And obviously, once that shot's fired, it's over. This, chaos erupts.
Yep, that's the spark that'll set it off.
The imagery of that sniper is one of my favorite things in this episode, just because the sniper there is representative of the Imperial will, essentially. That guy is what the Empire is doing here. Everyone else on the ground, they are pieces on a board. They don't particularly matter. It doesn't matter what side they're on. If it serves Imperial interests, they gotta go. This guy is the man behind the screen, right? Who is actually making the decisions, and he doesn't care at all what side you're on. All he cares about is the furtherance of objectives and
There's the interesting thing as well, because while this has all been going on, obviously Andor has been going around trying to find a position to take a sniper shot on Dedra, and sort of playing in the back of my mind while this was all going on is that if he'd been successful, pretty much exactly the same thing would have happened. Just a more important person would have died, but the same conflagration would have happened. In other words, like, this is the ultimate expression of a fait accompli. This was always going to happen. Andor could have got his shot. This would have happened. He could have failed and someone else got shot. This would have happened. Nothing anyone does at this point will change that this is exactly how it has to pan out.
Well, yeah, and then they get to write whatever they want as exactly how this went down, and they could make it absurd. They can say, like, all of the Ghormans open fired, and it was the brave, Imperials that managed to quell the uprising, but not
exactly
at
the.
Yeah, we get bits and pieces of their
later. Yeah,
but just when you,
Imperial
I love how much
martyrs
detail there is on all the tiny pieces that lead up to it, because as soon as they get it started, the Empire have won. They can do whatever they want now.
Yeah, exactly. And chaos is erupting, and the Imperial soldiers start indiscriminately firing into the crowd, and they kill several civilians. And the Ghorman rebels, in turn, return fire, and Andor and Willman start assisting. And the Imperial sniper at this point then just starts indiscriminately targeting civilians that are running for the exits.
It's a unique experience to watch Star Wars and to be like shocked and invested in the events.
It really is weird, isn't it?
It's really fucking weird to watch.
You get that vibe through a lot of this show, but you're like, oh shit, I'm feeling things.
You see all
I'm
these
invested in things.
Civilians screaming because they don't even understand what's happening, and then it just cuts to a wall of stormtroopers all shooting, and like, holy shit!
Actually hitting things, not just missing things for memes, like in a Taika Waititi Mandalorian episode.
It's so funny though.
And then it's particularly grim as well when many of the Ghormans scramble for the exits, but they're full of awaiting soldiers who just start firing on them. Just like, regardless of whether they've got weapons or not, they're just killing everybody who tries to escape.
It's particularly brutal, and I would say another criticism I saw, which I didn't really understand, was like people saying about only 20 people died in this. It wasn't much of a massacre. Shit tons of people died in this.
Yeah, I think it's more than
what?
How do they...
How was that? I think I would be happy to describe the number as 20 plus on the Wikipedia page,
There's it may not be as many as Tarkin killed when he landed the Star Destroyer, but it's a shit ton of people.
Yeah, maybe we see 20 we might see 20 deaths on screen, but I feel like the implication is this is going on throughout the square. There's a lot of people dying that we don't necessarily see.
I don't even know what
it's got to be more than 20.
It's hundreds. It's hundreds at least. It might even be thousands. I'm not even sure. Like, I don't. I mean, what point are they even making? This is this is an atrocity.
Yeah, and it doesn't stop at the plaza either. Like,
afterwards. So what's interesting is
chased down in the streets.
I wonder if we're dealing with a synthetic man God of War situation where the propaganda is so effective they fall for it. Like, if you remember the report that they have post massacre, the bodies have been cleared, and the journalists are saying, like, today was a horrible day, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, I wonder if it was like, well, yeah, there's an effort to make it look like a lot less Ghormans died than actually did.
That a lot less of them died, but that it was their fault that it happened.
Yeah, still their fault.
Imperial soldiers,
dude, on the note of that sniper, by the way, just him tracing people who are unarmed, running in fear and shooting them down. It is so rough.
Yeah.
It's so cold and calculated, which is, again...
was like
he's such an effective representation.
Fucking Satan version of Saving Private Ryan with the sequence where he's sniping, but it's just innocent people running away, and it's just, again, cold as shit.
But something that's really effective in the situation is that even though basically none of the prominent characters that you are following in this sequence are unknowing civilians, obviously they have various degrees of information, all of the characters, but all of the people that you're following are like the people who are in the rebellion. They've got weapons or they're fighting. But it still does a really effective job of essentially demonstrating just how, like, from the perspective of these civilians, they have no idea where to go. They have no idea what's going on. It's absolute chaos, and they're just trying to save themselves, but finding it incredibly difficult to do that amidst all of the shooting and all of the exits being covered, just random shots from a sniper piercing through the crowd. Like, it really sells how desperate the situation is, and in many ways how hopeless it seems from their perspective.
What's even more nuts... The sniper shooting for civilians, it might actually be that it's like you're better off not shooting the ones with guns because they need the fight to go on for some time first. Like, don't just wipe out the Ghormans. We need them fighting.
Well, and that the more innocent people that are killed, the more that's going to that's going to enrage the Ghorman front.
Yeah,
and you even see it because one of the guys who's hiding like screams "bastards" before running out and attacking. Though he gets shot and killed.
None of our main characters die here, but you get plenty of significant characters, at least to Ghorman. Don't make it through this.
A significant number of the members of the Ghorman front get killed here. And then of course you cut from all of this chaos to Kaido just examining the carnage from the safety of inside the building. I think he even smiles.
There's a really subtle smirk. It's excellent.
Yeah.
Like, it comes across as my plan has worked perfectly. Excellent. You know, like it's despite the fact he's looking at fire and death, basically. Again,
well, this is what he wanted.
This is Thrawn energy. Just saying, you, at least what you're gonna want to aim for.
Well, compared to the Thrawn being like, oh, Ahsoka escaping just as I planned. He's like fucking Blue Dutch Vanderland.
They killed Dr. Durst and blow up his laboratory. Oh, good. This is actually a big W for the Empire. Yeah. They didn't even realize it.
We learned something about Ahsoka, that she's got so much spirit. Ship.
Now to create my army of zombies.
Oh, God. It is so funny, right? That there's this no-name Imperial who we'll probably never see again. You know, he gets his men killed deliberately, and we'll never hear about him again, and probably won't really remember his name. Thrawn gets his men killed by accident and is known as a genius. It's just
there's several Imperial characters throughout this entire show. Whether you want to talk about Krennic, whether you're talking about Partagaz, whether you want to talk about this random guy, that all are much more threatening and appear calculated and actually would be frightening to go up against than fat fucking Thrawn with his zombie stormtroopers.
Which makes it so much more satisfying when the heroes defeat them.
Like, I will say, it is so annoying seeing people say that, like, Ahsoka can coexist with something like Andor when you have something like this, which is so serious and heavy, compared to zombie stormtroopers. It's like, oh, we're meant to conclude that this takes place in the same world. Like, what are you... Because, again, this is not incompatible with the original trilogy. This is absolutely an event that you could see happening in a world where you've still got Luke and Darth Vader, and Yoda using the Force, compared to zombie stormtroopers from actual witches. Like,
on that note,
a different galaxy with fucking hyperspace whales.
It's like, could you, can you imagine Jabba the Hutt and Luthen Rail exist in the same universe? It's like, I could totally fucking imagine Stellan Skarsgård acting the shit out of a scene with Jabba the Hutt.
The fuck out of Jabba if he felt there was a need for it.
Downright, it would be fucking awesome. Meanwhile, it's like, the Ahsoka thing, it's not a problem of aliens or even tone. It's just the way the world is treated, how every element is treated. Is like, it's not compatible. I can't take these two worlds together. One of them's clown, the other one isn't. It's too difficult.
Mm-hmm. And so, amidst all of this happening, we see that inside the hotel lobby, the bellhop, there's a pair of frightened civilians at the entrance, and he warns them to back away. And we will come back to him soon. And Dedra is told that Cyril is in the plaza, and she steps onto the balcony, and Andor sees this and takes aim, but she escapes from view before he can take the shot, which is something that he's trying to do in between, shooting stormtroopers.
I was going to mention, by the way, when this...
Facilitator of tension. Go on.
When this kicked off as well, music just cuts, and it's screaming and shooting and screaming.
Just using the diegetic sounds is really... The music comes back eventually, but I definitely think it was the correct creative choice to just have the sounds of the situation. It's really effective a lot of times to cut off music, particularly in Star Wars, considering that Star Wars tends to just have like a constant soundtrack, which I do... By the way, I do enjoy that about the Star Wars films, that they essentially have music all the time.
Even then, though, that's much more like a prequels on type thing. Because if you go back to the OT, like the soundtrack it's quite persistent, but it's much quieter than it was. And that's generally true of film music anyway. But the prequels have it all the time, and the OT doesn't.
That's true. When Luke and Darth Vader fight in Empire, right at the beginning, there's no music. It's just the sounds of the
I love the vibe of that scene. The colors.
The cinematography is amazing. It's so good. So now we see the Ghorman rebels consolidate their position and begin to charge the Imperial building, which prompts Cato to dispatch the KX droids.
Just before that, I was going to say that the shot beginning this way, I just thought it was really sad. It's like, there he is. Dead.
He's dead. Sacrificed. Him being a loyal servant of the Empire does not protect him from the fucking Empire.
Never understood what the fuck they were doing with him. He just tried to do his job properly. He's no different than Cyril.
He died to facilitate an atrocity that would just see an entire planet and civilization destroyed.
It's just really tragic. Lots of tragedy in this episode.
But now,
I'll say this is you know, talking about the Empire and stuff, and how they how the officers are and how imposing they are. More than probably anything else, this show really does make you go, man, I'm so glad that the good guys win in Return of the Jedi.
Well, yeah.
I have seen some people point out that if you treat the sequel trilogy as canon, that can be really fucking annoying because all of the efforts that you see in this show ultimately lead to another fascist regime taking over and destroying the New Republic.
Not just that, but Mon Mothma specifically leads the effort to demilitarize the New Republic just a few years after victory, and sets the stage, obviously, for all the ineptitude from the New Republic that we see in Ahsoka and Mandalorian and stuff. Like, that's, you know, all that kind of is laid at the feet of Mon Mothma, which is
great. Well, and Leia, right?
And Leia, yeah. Which is kind of tough to justify.
Luckily, it's not at the feet of Luke because he abandoned them, so it doesn't count as his poor leadership.
He washed his hands of it.
And Han Solo ran off to get drunk and be a shit smuggler. Oh, love it! Such great stories.
You need to show the shot of the KX droids emerging from the entrance.
Well, so for anybody who hasn't seen this, by the way, should have been. Don't watch our breakdown first. If you're gonna watch it. But this, I don't know how else to describe it. It's Terminator. These guys coming out. Yeah. They are terrifyingly strong, efficient, and they don't give a fuck. Like, they'll do their job.
Well, the slow walking really emphasizes essentially how impervious they are to anything that can be thrown at them. Like, they're not getting stopped here.
And like, it's a little thing as well, but it's really nice to see because there's a moment where one of them throws like this Gore woman, and like she goes flying really fast. And in a generic modern film, she would get right back up again because that's how fight scenes work. You just throw people around until stuff happens. This one kind of treats it believably. She gets thrown so far and so fast that she hits the ground and she dies. Great, I want to see more of that.
I was going to say to not understate that because it was shocking to me. I want to see a KX. It reminds me of the season 2 Mandalorian finale where Mando keeps getting thrown around or attacked in such a way that it doesn't hurt him because the droids are too fucking stupid. But this one, it's like, I want to see them punch through a person because that's probably the quickest way to kill them, right? It's like, I don't think they could do that age-rated wise. It's like, well, don't just throw them. The example I would always probably go to is Terminator Salvation. John Connor fights, I'm pretty sure it's like a T-800 at the beginning, or it's one of the earlier models. Doesn't have like the skin yet. And it keeps fucking throwing him again. I was like, are you serious? John Connor could just be dead if this thing decided to do any other move. However, here, as Platoon highlighted, it throws, but the throw kills her because it's a fucking mega throw. Probably broke his spine. It's like, what the?
One trauma, it's dangerous. It's deadly.
I don't think I've ever seen that before. That's a movie throw where you absolutely survive those in all movies, but not here.
I was prepared to say, "Oh, for fuck's sake!" when I saw it, and then it was more like an "Oh, for fuck!" Oh.
Yeah, I was ready for, because we're doing like the Terminator thing where she's scooting back looking for a weapon, trying to get away or whatever, and then it throws her. It's like, oh, you threw it? Oh, she's just dead, huh?
It's the ally screaming that sells it. The reaction is not one of, oh, you're going to walk away from that. It is, that's going to kill you. You're dead. And she dies.
Can't undersell. And this is
the same universe where you get stabbed with a lightsaber and it doesn't matter.
Fuck that shit. Can't undersell, though, the crawling away and it just slowly getting closer and closer. Seriously, like, you can't describe it as any other than Terminator vibes. It's like nailed Terminator, and it's not Terminator. Terminator can't nail Terminator.
As it is like a trope, you are sort of like both like constantly thinking or holding out hope, like something's going to happen, right? Something's going to happen, right?
Getting brutalized.
And then it catches up. Like, we get to see pretty much the whole trajectory, and no, there's nothing to be done here.
Nope.
Even the kicking the barricade and it just slams into two different people.
Oh, that was great. Yeah, the opening move to slide that forward.
That's a really good opening demonstration of the kind of thing we're dealing with here with these guys. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
especially like earlier in this episode, isn't it? And then you see like there's basically an entire platoon of Imperials who have to move one of these barriers into position. And they're really heavy. They're hard to do, and then this thing just kicks it. So it's like even this tiny little piece of establishment work is seeing men lift this thing earlier, and then seeing the droid kick it later to establish just how strong it is.
Yeah. And someone brought up in chat, and I think we talked about this yesterday, Rags, but there is they upgraded the K2SOs a little bit, apparently 2 years before Rogue One, because
it's weird.
K2SO could get injured by blasters, relatively easily, and in this they are like completely fucking impervious.
It is a complaint that I kind of continue to have about Star Wars is armor and people actually using it. Because they specifically have scenes, like we'll see it later on in later episodes, where people are given armor to wear, and they wear it when they go into combat. But it's like, well, what are we doing? What's this for? The robots are impervious to blaster fire, but none of our soldiers apparently have armor that works or gives a damn about anything. Like, what's going on?
Rogue One is weird, too, because you have the one version of the KX droid that gets one shot killed, and then K2 takes about, for all we know, as much as like 20 shots before he goes down. It's not clear because we don't see it between cuts. But he's certainly not, like the first shot into his back goes into him, right? It's not bouncing off or anything.
Yeah, it's affecting him when he gets hit, as opposed to it just bouncing off him in an intimidating fashion. So it's like, you do have like, stormtrooper armor, right? We see stormtroopers go down. That armor is not going to stop everything. However, if something hits them at a glance or something, instead of it actually going through and doing damage, sometimes it can deflect it or stuff like that, as opposed to just being completely blaster proof. That's most of the armor that you're going to see in Star Wars.
Yeah, it's always been such a missed opportunity to show how imposing stormtroopers could be, where like your shots will stagger them, but you're not going to kill them if you shoot them in the armor. It just shows that they're juggernauts, that they're very imposing in the way that they can just advance towards you, almost impervious. They're not just cannon fodder that stands out in the open and gets shot.
There was probably an opportunity to show that in this scene as a kind of rebuke to the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. If you see like one of the Gors hit one of the stormtroopers with like some kind of blunt force weapon, and the trooper's able just to shrug it off, then at least you see the armor has done something.
Yeah.
You can't just smack them on the side of the head and they'll fall unconscious, for example.
Amidst
armor
all
works,
of this
damn
happening,
use it.
Amidst all of this happening, Cyril is horrified and watching all of the atrocities occurring all around him. He is done.
It's everything we talked about, right? Like ruined. Simultaneously, his whole world's fallen apart. All of his values are getting completely re-questioned. Everything he knew about the Empire has changed, and then his responsibility for all of this. It's a lot for a guy to take all at once.
Yeah, he's just ruined, basically. He is destroyed. And so we see that the bellhop inside the hotel lobby activates an explosive and tosses it to the entrance, turns back around, closes his eyes and takes a breath, and just as Andor is taking aim at Dedra, an enormous explosion tears through the hotel. I think we are to presume that it killed him, the bellhop, but it also killed several stormtroopers as well. It was actually a pretty devastating blow.
John Bellhop, R.I.P.
And then,
what can one do?
So Cyril turns around and sees Andor standing in front of him, and of course, when you see this, you're like, of course they had to meet again. They're both here. They had to meet. But what's about to happen? And I think you kind of know what's about to happen. Andor takes aim again, but it's tackled by Cyril, and the two engage in what can only be described as a very brutal brawl.
One of the rawest fucking battles we'll ever see in Star Wars, I think.
This is like an actual fight. This was a real.
So fucking angry. He's like goggling, like, and screaming as he's.
But it's the one thing he's still got, right? Like, this is the one thing in his life that probably does still make a degree of sense. It's motivated him for so long. Everything else has fallen apart, but here's the one guy who's been like the locus of his efforts for such a long time. I'm going to go for him. Nothing else makes sense.
And there's his outside agitator.
Well, and as was said about your mind changing over time, right? Because I know it was crazy watching people say, like, why is he going after Andor? He realized the Empire were behind it all, didn't he? Like okay,
so
the big thing Cyril was doing here, right? The job that he is now to believe is quite seriously fake, that he was here to do a fake job and that it only facilitated the Empire's other goals. That's still in flux in terms of processing everything. And he just saw Andor, who is the personification of the rebellion to him. You go back to, there's that wonderful shot in season 1 where he sees his face on the hologram for the first time and just fucking stares at it. It's his nemesis. It's the man that ruined his life.
From his perspective, he ruined his life. Andor destroyed everything, and he had to claw his way back. And then, of course, you could just add on that all of the anger that he actually does harbor towards the Empire for doing this is now being channeled into essentially a convenient scapegoat. Andor is such a convenient scapegoat for him to lash out against.
But it is confirmation, though. The rebellion is agitating the Ghormans. Like, it's... not to say that everything else isn't considered, but that would make him furious in that moment. It's true, and you're there, and I hate you. You specifically are the one that's here. It's almost like fate is fucking with him.
And then for the reaction to be, who are you? Is like, for the guy he's been so focused on for years and years, the person who did destroy his life, to have no idea who the fuck he is just, it completely takes all the sails out from him, like the wind out of his sails. And he doesn't know what to do with that information that Andor doesn't know who he is.
They're having the ultimate battle of good versus evil, and Andor doesn't even know that that's happening. Like, what do you mean?
No, this is just a guy who has started to attack him that inexplicably.
Which I really like. The performance is excellent on both of them, but Andor being like, the way that he asks that question comes across as so genuinely confused and almost annoyed. It's like, how could you be so passionately angry at me? Who the fuck are you?
Yeah, you're not in an Imperial uniform. As far as I think, you're just some Ghorman around here. What's going on?
Yeah. And it just shows the disconnect, essentially, that that Andor has had a significant impact on Cyril's life. Cyril, at the time, was just one of the guys that was going after Andor.
Yeah, no way.
The many people who went after him, he wouldn't remember.
You wouldn't remember his face.
He had no reason to.
Wouldn't remember his name.
I don't even know if he technically saw his face.
You saw him from the back. Yeah.
Oh, well, they tied him up.
Put the gun to the back of his head.
They did tie him up. Yeah.
They tied him up.
Oh, I guess you're right.
He definitely saw him, but again, it's just a case of
it was so long ago.
As much as any
I remember some random.
It was a bit part of a bit mission,
It'd be like if he bumped into one of the soldiers on Aldani who survived. It's like during the skirmish. It's like, yeah, why would he? Why would he know anything about this? It is just a complete disconnect in terms of perspective. And of course, to just have, Cyril, after just getting in this crazy fight, getting blasted, because there was an explosion that rocked him, and then he grabs Andor's rifle, points it at him, is trembling and staring him down, and Andor to say, "Who are you?" You got to show the reaction.
Well, no, I got to show what he looks like first, which is again just this. This guy's lost everything. He doesn't. It's just so desperately like, I've got the gun. You're here. Finally, I have my justice. And it's not exactly what he's looking for. Obviously, I can't show stupid Disney, especially on long streams. They're gonna be mad at me. Mm-hmm. But again, Diego Luna just being genuinely bewildered by this man. Oh, it fucking VLC freezes on me, of course.
No, VLC. You're in league with them.
You're with him.
You're with them.
It's also one of those.
You turned VLC
it's also one of those situations where I heard Cyril's actor talk about this moment, because obviously in the aftermath of this, after the "Who are you?" he kind of lowers the rifle a little, before he gets shot in the head. But you're kind of left wondering what that means. What does it mean? Does it just mean he would walk away? Does it mean he would potentially realize kind of everything that's happened, and maybe somebody who would realize the evil? What is it? And he was like, look, in that moment where he realized, what the Cyril actor said was, in that moment when he realizes this guy's been the focus of everything, and he doesn't even know who the fuck he is, he's ready to just put it down, drop the gun, and walk away and stumble away, basically, because his life means nothing.
It'd be a similar outcome to how things went with Dedra, right? It's just like complete stunned silence. Like, because how could this guy possibly not remember him? He's been like the sole focal point of his life for so long. How could that possibly be?
Well,
and then almost like realizes his own cosmic insignificance almost in events. Like nothing is what he thought it was. Like, everything he's worked for has been kind of a lie. He's not the most important character in anybody's story. And then he realized, like, that brief moment of almost realization when he lowers the gun, and because we like him enough by this point to think, oh shit, maybe he's gonna go good, or maybe, like, I wonder what will happen to him next. But then because this is just such a pure tragic episode, he gets shot by a pacifist, which is like very hard to do. And here we are.
Well, so there was
Rylance shoots Cyril.
There was a perspective about this, that this wastes Cyril's character, that he could have been a part of the rebellion, and that would have been a fun angle to take the character. Which
we're dealing with Marcus here.
That's I feel yes. So
I was about to say Marcus. Yeah.
There's so much here to pull in terms of storytelling, the contrast with different characters and their journeys and stuff. We talked about how the Empire like carves these characters to do exactly what they need them to do, and then doesn't care about their well-being whatsoever. The fact that Cyril almost gets there, but he is killed for the life he's led up to this point, like, that's who Rylance believes Cyril is, and there's no reason to think anything otherwise, even though in this moment, Cyril is no longer that man. He's completely changed. He's gone through a shit ton. Who knows exactly what action he's going to take next, for sure, but it's too late. The consequences of having lived that life, of making those mistakes, is that you're now killed by the opposition as an enemy, as a member of the oppressive system. Like, that is the tragedy, I think, and it's a complete story.
And the line, who are you, taking on an extra meaning in that regard, because Cyril being, like, essentially this unformed character in this moment, like, at this point in time, there is no, like, definitive thing that could be said about who Cyril is, or what, like, will happen with him next, right? And he never gets a chance to find out. He never gets a chance to really, like, define himself as an individual outside of the institution that has been using him to its own ends for basically his entire adult life, as far as we can tell.
It's just,
he's used up and discarded.
I like the comparison of him and Andor as well. These two guys who at this point have a pretty heavy conviction for the similar goals, right? Similar values, but they've ended up on the complete opposite sides, and one of them is so harshly wrong, and in that moment feels like he's realized it, come to terms with it, realizes the absolute folly of executing Andor at this point, considering all information. But like, the fact that I was just happy they allowed him the chance to lower the gun before executing him, writing wise, so that it gives us that, because I never thought he was making it out of this episode, especially when Dedra did the whole, like, we can be happy and we can be together if everything, you know, it's just like, he's gonna get fucking killed in the massacre. There's just no way. And again, as Platoon mentions, it's like, what a perfect choice to have the man who's advocated this whole time that they stay peaceful be the one to execute him.
Well, I thought that was just a random old man.
Oh,
no. According to some viewers, it was just a random old guy that killed him.
No, it hurts. It hurts my soul and my skin. If you don't want to watch the show, you don't have to watch the show. All right, but if you're gonna watch the show, at least do it the credit of paying attention, the mildest amount of attention, please.
What was that monument thing outside? What was that for? I can't remember.
Wasn't this was like a landing strip or something?
Yeah, why'd they even come to this plaza? Who cares?
Jesus Christ!
Why didn't the Empire just take it from them?
Yeah, like exactly.
Why would the Empire just blow up the planet?
Yeah,
no one would have some sort of
the Empire loves blowing up planets.
Why didn't they use the Death Star?
Yeah,
idiots. That's what I would have done. But no, this moment is phenomenally excellent and banking on shit tons of work they've done throughout both seasons. So fucking good. And I even like recovering from this, Andor getting up and trying to leave. He keeps looking back at Cyril. It's such a like, who was that guy?
He doesn't know,
like,
yeah.
he's still so fucking confused as to what just happened to him.
And, you know, the camera moving away from it is like, that's it for Cyril. His story's over. That cog we saw all the way back in, like, the security branch moved all the way up, but the whole time was just used by the Empire and then killed for it. Like, with no care given for all the higher-ups, except one person. Well,
He's just looking on at the devastation, like realizing what these decisions, like what it actually meant. You know,
we're taking a minute to appreciate Rip to the Goat, because Cyril is one of the best characters.
Oh yeah, this is masterful storytelling. He is one of the best characters in Star Wars in terms of the story. What a complete bold package this is. What a great ending. What an insane idea to suggest anything different for like the ending of this character. It's just perfect.
What a betrayal of everything that his story sort of had going on to suggest anything else, really.
Mm-hmm.
Like the whole misery of it all is you want to know what would have happened with him next.
Yeah,
but you're not allowed.
That's right, and he's not allowed because of the choices that he made.
Yeah, they have consequences. He can't escape the past life, kills his potential new life.
And to hammer the point home again, I guess, like, this is all so dependent on all of the many, many, many scenes for both of these characters throughout the entire, like, 1.5 seasons prior to this episode. This moment can't hit the way it does without all of that work. So, like, while this obviously deserves a shitload of praise for what it's done, it can't get all of the credit. It can't have it. So much of that credit goes to the... Yes.
All the way back to Season 1, Episode 1. And of course, it's nice because no matter how the story ends, though, I think it's safe to conclude if you're watching that, you know, it's pretty clear that all of us have pretty positive feelings about the overall season. This is a story that is safe, basically forever. It's sealed up tight. It's never going to get ruined, in all likelihood, because I imagine that Dave Filoni wouldn't even know what he would want to do with trying to...
Hold on.
Dave Filoni... You guys missed the announcement at Star Wars Celebration. There's a Dave Filoni animated Cyril prequel show coming out.
Incredible. 12-year-old. He's actually force sensitive, and the story is about how he loses it over the course of getting older.
He's gonna do
his mother beats the force out of him.
Some rogue Jedi or whatever, because another Jedi who like survived Order 66 and is just like fucking around in Morlana or whatever, and he shows up with Cyril, and they go on a quick adventure, and Cyril's like, maybe the Empire is bad, and then Andor starts,
and he has a pet wolf.
Yeah, he also has 3 pet wolves.
Of course, as you do.
Here's the thing, like, when you get to the end of this entire season, for any character that's left alive at the end of this season, I was sitting there thinking, God, I would love to want to see you again.
Yeah.
But I really hope
we already
that
know.
I don't.
Look at Mon Mothma. Her and Ahsoka was fucking awful.
Well, exactly, yeah. Like, because there is a chance they could come in as like bit part characters in some later series, because this one's been reasonably well received by people who actually, watched it. And they might come back, but if they do come back in any other show, they're just going to be completely retarded, and I don't want to see it.
For any character that is like noteworthy or liked in any way, I am fully expecting them to return to be cannibalized by Star Wars at some point.
Oh, Andor's kid's going to be in the Rey movie, no doubt.
Unfortunately, it's possible, but again, it's not going to be Andor's fault. That's the important part. If they do that, it's not going to be the fault of the storytellers here or this story. So Andor and Wilman escape the plaza and encounter a member of the Ghorman front who tells Wilman that Drina went back to the basement to use the radio, send out a broadcast. Wilman wants to rush back, but Andor stops him, says they need to get a ride back to the ship. But it's interrupted when several terrified civilians flood into the street because a KX droid is pursuing. And naturally, while walking towards Andor, keeps throwing people and punching people and attacking civilians that are running past.
And this does a good job of showing, again, like how terrifying the KX droids are. I wasn't entirely satisfied, I think, with the way, because obviously this is the way we're going to end up introducing K2 into the story. It's like, I understand that this is sort of mechanically a convenient place to do it because the droids are all here and everything like that. I'm just not entirely sure I buy that Andor, in the mindset he must surely be in based on everything that's just been happening around him, would think, oh, hang on a minute, let's pick up like the two pieces of this droid. That will be useful to the plot later.
I'd say the gap that's missing here, or I guess the gap that is present here, is that we should have had at least a line or some kind of setup in a prior episode telling us how they've been waiting for an opportunity to get a KX droid, or a droid in general. If they'd done that for us and let us know that this is something that is just a really great opportunity. This seems very casual in how the scene runs. He's like, hey, let's toss this in.
What happens as they're being chased, the rebel who killed Cinta, Sam, gets into transport and slams the KX droid into a wall, which disables it. Which I liked, by the way, that he had that moment, considering his fuck up in the last arc. I figured they would give him something. I thought it was going to be like a heroic sacrifice, but this is, I guess he gets to live and also take it out. And yeah, they see it there. And basically, like, after they discuss the plan, which is that Willman's going to head to the headquarters, and that Andor should go and make sure that people know what happened. It's like Andor seems to get the idea. They're like, oh, hey, help me put the KX unit on the transport. Like, it's almost like a passing thought of like, oh shit, we could probably take this, rather than something that was planned ahead of time.
This might be a problem just in general, but the KX droid K2SO is OP. You're going to want as many of these as you can get on your team. Not only is it amazing for stealth, because it's an Imperial droid, it's extremely strong. It can wipe out like a whole army of stormtroopers if you play your cards right. It's excellent aim. It's able to hack. It's like a really good shield. It's funny, which can be handy
as an added bonus. Yeah.
So, I need to know how this is balanced, because I don't know why. Say, for example, right, you have like the ion shots in Star Wars that can disable droids. I would have thought they would just have a mission, whereas like, we need to capture a KX droid. It should be pretty straightforward. Everyone get the...
Gilroy said that they'd originally planned, like, sort of, at least sketched out an entire episode, which is sort of was like a horror episode where, like, there was K2 just going through, like, the interior of a ship being unstoppable. I can believe that was maybe, like, the mission to fetch the droid because of how useful it is. And that would have been a good thing to do, because then it gives us a reason, it gives us intent, it gives us explanation, all the rest of that stuff. And he clearly likes these droids because he's very good at making them seem as powerful as they are, and he does like to use them in that way. It's just that I don't think that this was slotted back into the script as cleanly as it might otherwise have been done.
I need to buy that this is a huge opportunity, and I don't even quite get that from the performances. It feels more like a 50-50. I guess we could do this.
They certainly seem wary of it enough. They certainly sell that they understand it's dangerous, but...
Well, they just saw him beating the shit out of a million people in the plaza and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm also aiming at is just how amazing K2SO is. Right? Like, did they know that before this happened? Is he the first they've ever done this with? Because holy shit, it should change everything in terms of get as many of those KX droids on your team as you can.
Just a tragic episode, really, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and it's also, I assume, I don't know if anyone disagrees, but the best of Andor season 1 and 2.
Yes,
it's the best episode in the show.
I'm thinking so.
The best one.
Thinking so.
Yep.
A lot of moving parts, a lot of stuff that's been set up converging together, and a lot of implications and impact.
And it certainly had its impact broadly. A lot of people were talking about everything in this episode for a little bit there.
Masterclass in dramatic irony as well, with again, we're privy to exactly what's going on here from every step of the episode, but we still don't know fully exactly how it's going to roll out, like how this entire event is going to unfold. So we're left to just watch something that we know for sure is coming, but we don't know exactly how, and no one else knows what is even happening as such. So
it's so good. And I'm not sure, because the thing is that in terms of other ones that would compete with this, like, well, other contenders for the best episode were like One Way Out, or episode 6, the Eye, that episode, or I'm trying to think of what else.
Personally, I love episode 10 of season 2 a lot.
Well, yes, but I guess up until this point, because if you include afterward, then yes, episode 10, which we'll be talking about as part of the final arc, is pretty competitive as well. But yeah, this is this stands out to me. It's a masterful episode of television. It's like as an individual component, it's like the best Star Wars thing in decades. So, you know, like I know it's almost like, because that's what everybody says, but it is kind of just the reality of the situation, and also the best thing that we've had since the original trilogy.
Well, I don't disagree. That's pretty easy.
I wouldn't begrudge placing it above the original trilogy.
I know some people have. I think Random Film Talk said he thinks Andor is better than the OT. So there are people out there.
I know I certainly prefer it.